You didn't shove it in your
Oh,
diaper, did you, Joey?
no, I didn't do that.
Welcome to Love in Brief, a brief ABDL advice podcast focused on issues of love. And I, Resident ES, am flying solo tonight, which is super weird. I'm used to being on with a partner or partners to run this show, but we had so many guests tonight that I was like, let me just handle this solo and see how I do. So I get to play Ringmaster, and if you hate it, my apologies. I am super excited to talk about a subject that we've talked about in one form or another in a bunch of different podcasts, but we've never run straight at. And by the way, I made a good friend a couple weeks ago at a party at my house, and I wanted to bring him on and talk about his life. So this is, I guess, my privilege. I get to both introduce my friend to you and talk about something that I think is long overdue on Love and Brief. So, our topic today is what are relationships like between ABDLs and NILAs, and what is it like to do a daddy dom little boy relationship if you're a gay man. And we have had folks on the podcast talking about what it's like to be gay and what it's like to be in the community and gay, but we've never sort of run at this topic straight on. So I am super excited about this. So I will start by introducing the person that came to my house and shared my lovely backyard fire with me, and I immediately fell in friendship with. I want to welcome to the pod little Tim. Tim, thank you for showing up. And to talk about your relationship and your experience, I would love to know, tell me about your love.
Well, first, thanks for having me on and for meeting me at CAP and then inviting me to your house afterward to a little party I was at. It was really lovely. But my love is for, first of all, my family and my friends, and for my cat, Piper, who is sitting behind me wishing she was allowed in my lap at this moment, and for my community, which I really discovered when I was at CAP how giant it is and met some really lovely people there.
So was this your first trip to CapCon?
This was my very first.
And you discovered community there. What was that like?
It was difficult because for the first day I was real kind of quiet, and I came with some friends who all kind of had a relationship with each other, so I didn't want to be the hanger-on, so I kind of hung out by myself. But I had tried to make friends with a few of the folks I ran into, but didn't really get a response. So I ended up doing what most gay men will recognize doing in quiet spaces, which is turning on Grindr. And that's where I met. That's where I met a couple of really wonderful people. One of them being my friend Joey and his daddy, Wayne.
What a perfect segue. So you got there, you were like, I'm not sure how to talk to people. Let me go on Grindr. And then all of a sudden there was somebody right there in the middle of CapCon with you?
Yes, right there in the middle of CapCon. And he said, hey, do you want to hang out with me and my daddy? And I said, absolutely.
Damn it, Grindr, you've delivered again.
Yes,
good job.
For once.
Well, thank you. So I'll go to you, Joey. Welcome to Love and Brief. And I should ask, tell me about your love.
My love is for friends, for found family, and for comic books and cartoons.
Ooh, I like all of those things. And you were the one who said yes to this person who messaged you on Grindr and was like, hey, I'm at Cap.
Yeah.
What are we going to do here?
So, yeah, because it was actually my second year at CAP, and I had similar feelings as I feel, everybody did the last year, as first-timer feelings, and I was just sort of sitting there because some of the friends I met my first year weren't going to be going. And I was a little bummed out about that, but I also remembered how I felt when it was my first year, and I thought, nobody's going to like me, nobody's going to want to hang out. It's going to be a lot of smiles, but then a lot of okay, bye. And lo and behold, you make connections. And if you go at it with the best intentions, those connections just bloom into relationships and friendships. And I was able to sort of think to myself, like, oh, I'm sure there's plenty of people like that here right now. And when Tim told me that it was his first time when we were just talking on Grindr, I was like, you know what? Here's my chance to be sort of that first timer friend and just kind of be like, yeah, this is the ball pit, this is the bouncy gym, this is the area, and just being able to tell him and show him a great time, you know?
I love that. I love that you saw in him something you had worried about and experienced, and were like, I want to deliver you from this experience. I want to be the one who welcomes you to this event. That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was nice to kind of get to, I guess, pay forward, not necessarily a favor, but like just sort of the act of trying to start a friend group out of, I guess, nothing, you know?
Of course. Yeah. And I love that you reached out and were like, I'm going to be the person to welcome you. I think that's so cool. And I think at every party I've ever been to, there's been at least one person who has taken on the mantle of the person to be like, I don't care where you came from. I recognize you because I was in that place at one time. You are welcome here. And I'm so glad you took that role.
And it's definitely a role I wanted to take, considering having a daddy and having that sort of firm, sort of always there relationship. And I want to have more little friends and show them some little times together, and, you know, maybe let us share those more moments with a daddy together if they would like that.
Yeah, I love that. I think there is a part of us that always thinks, if only I had my one partner and they would solve every want, need, and desire that I would ever have for life. And one thing I'm hearing you saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, is, yeah, I love my partner forever, but I also long for some companionship with another little. That would be super cool.
That's absolutely the case. Because, like,
yeah,
I've always, you know, I always grew up kind of being like against the establishment, you know, and just sort of when somebody tells me something's that way, I kind of think, well, why isn't it a better way? And it doesn't work for everyone, obviously, but for me and my relationship, the better way is being like, yeah, you are a love of my life, but you're not the love of my life, because I don't believe in that sort of limiting factor of just one.
I think we are treading into poly territory, which, I mean, I am so down for. I think that might be another episode, but I am so down for it. But I do love that, like, whether it's poly or whether it's just reaching out to a new person, that you recognize that there is somebody here who may feel a little bit alone or disenfranchised or whatever it happens to be. And that you were like, I have love and room for you too. And if it weren't for that, the four of us wouldn't be on this podcast right now. So I'm glad you said yes to that. You also referenced your daddy, so I am super excited to bring your daddy into the conversation.
Yay.
And welcome your husband and daddy. Wayne, thank you for being on Love and Brief. Tell me about your love.
Thank you so much for having me. My love has got to be just feeling new senses of community within different groups, and really discovering that there's always an opportunity to make new friends and just learn about other people and their experiences, which has always fascinated me.
I love that you are getting to do that, and do that with new people in the ABDL community, because if I understand right, you yourself did not come into the ABDL community before you met Joey. Is that right?
That is correct. I wasn't even aware of it prior to meeting Joey. And it was just such a joy once I was able to really meet everybody in the community for the first time. And even before that, just getting to know Joey and what ABDL meant to him. And it's just been amazing.
I want to dig into that so much, and we will. But I will say I have such a giant heart for people who are like, look, I've never seen this thing before. It was not on my mind. It's certainly not my thing. But once I discovered it in somebody I love, I wanted to go deep. I think that is so beautiful. That's all. I just need to make a comment on that. I think it's so beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. So I want to dive right into our topic. So one of the things that I've noticed about Love and Brief is that we have lots of people on of all kinds of different genders and backgrounds, and we have people of different sexual orientations, but we've never once focused, I don't think, exclusively on gay men. And so I thought, well, this is an awesome time to highlight and talk about what it's like building an ABDL relationship in your experience. And of course, I'm not asking you to speak for all gay men. That's lots of people. I'm asking you only to speak for your experience. But I would love to hear about what it was like for y'all to meet, and then what it was like to introduce your ABDL dynamic into your relationship. And Joey and Wayne, I wonder if I could start with you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about how we met, and you can just rebound off me whenever you want to, Daddy.
Yeah. Okay. Sure thing.
So yeah, well, we both live in a quite small town, in the rural state of Wyoming, and so as far as like dating pool, it's there, but it's not very big. So knowing knowing I'm an ABDL before even starting dating was it's kind of scary.
Oh yeah.
I definitely was afraid of that, but I also knew that as far as a sort of relationship I would want, it would need to be friendship first. And so that's kind of where I focused on, was meeting a guy that we can talk to each other, banter off of each other, and just have a good time together. And then hopefully later on it would come. But that whole hopefully later on, that's where a lot of the fear comes from, because it's like you keep on pushing back later on because you think it's so good, he's so funny, he's so great. If I drop this, it's over.
Like this could be the thing that ruins our otherwise great friendship and relationship.
Absolutely. And it definitely, you get that inner feeling of shame, which is kind of like a little alien to me, because I don't like feeling shame. I have a weird thing of like trying my dangdest not to feel negative emotions. Not to say they aren't important. It's just I don't know. I try to live in the positive, but
I get that.
That definitely comes back to bite me. But
yeah.
But yeah. Is there anything you wanted to say about it, Wayne?
I just want to talk about how we met.
Oh, please do.
Sorry.
Please do.
Yeah. So we met at college. The first time. I was at college and I saw a poster for a community group, a gender and sexuality minorities community group, and I thought, hey, let's go see if we can try to meet gay people in this small town and maybe have some communication with more gay people.
Sure.
And so I go there, and lo and behold, Wayne is the one that put this whole club, this whole community together, at least the attempt. Because as it turns out, we end up being like the only two people going to this club.
So this was a backfire.
A little bit, but not totally, because it sort of kind of became like just our own little like dating space, at least at first.
That's so adorable. So you went thinking, I'll meet other gay people, and you met one guy.
Yeah.
He was the only guy.
The only guy, and he was running it, so I was nervous to not
Well, sure.
mess up my...
You don't want to mess it up with the guy running things, sure.
Yeah.
And Wayne, here you were, and Joey comes up and meets you. Do you remember what you were feeling and thinking?
I do. First and foremost, I knew that trying to run this group was going to be a little bit difficult on the campus that I was on, mostly because I didn't know how big the community was going to be, and it was kind of a testing ground to know how many people would even be responsive to this. The first week, only one person showed up, and it wasn't Joey. I put up more posters, thinking maybe that was the main issue. Not enough people knew that it existed yet. And then the next week, he was the only person to show up. And for about 30 minutes, and somebody else was like, oh, yeah, I thought I'd show up a little bit later because I had a class. But for those 30 minutes...
You're like, where were you?
Exactly. For those 30 minutes, it was just the two of us talking and getting to know each other. And he had a comic book shirt on, and I distinctly remember it being The Flash. And I was like, DC. Like, I know some friends that are DC people. I don't know if this is going to work out. Like, I think my Marvel friend...
You were judging by his comic book affiliation. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he was being a little...
presumptuous.
I don't want to say presumptuous.
You had a little bit of DC vibe to you. I'm kind of a Marvel guy. So
I am... Well, see, he was a little bit opposite, because I am a Marvel fanboy.
Ah, okay.
Right. Once I saw his shoes, which were hand painted with Deadpool.
Oh yeah, I had the whole little look going on. I had my Flash T-shirt, my little cargo shorts, my super high socks, and my high top Converse that I made into.
This sounds kind of hot.
Deadpool
I'm tracking.
Converse.
Yeah, I'm tracking.
It was total little look. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was just adorable.
I was going to say something about this fella. You were like, yeah, this might be right up my alley. Do you remember what it was like to engage? And do you remember, was there any sort of hint of this little vibe?
Looking back at it now, definitely, but you don't know what you don't know. And not really knowing about that community, or I should say this community, because I'm such a part of it now. But back then, it was just something that I didn't have any clue about. So it wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. But I did think that he looked adorable, and that, oh gosh, like, did I really start a club just to meet a guy? Which is, it's not what I was supposed to do. But fortunately, some things fell apart, and the club didn't get to continue. And I think it was the next semester that, yet again,
we sort of had a communication gap just because of the club ending, kind of focusing on college and life. And then so our story is a little bit of a college romance story, but it's also a grinder success story because that's how we reconnected.
Man, Grindr should officially be the sponsor of this episode.
We should reach out for some affiliation for this episode.
Let's get some sweet cash for sure.
Oh, I mean, I reached out and I was like, "Hey, you were in that club I was trying to run. Sorry, things fell apart. Really thought things would have worked out there, but now that they're not, there's no rule that I can't date you. Do you want to go out sometime?"
Ooh, fancy. I like that. That you were like, hey, we can't not, like before, we couldn't date, but now it's sort of a Romeo and Juliet thing. Now we can.
I think it's really funny because, like, there were no official rules. It's not like it was, like, an official thing. But, like, I just like our parallel mindset of, like, this is the club. We can't date inside of...
Yeah. So how long were you together before you had a conversation about this dynamic, and how did it go?
If I may,
maybe about a year.
Yeah, I was about to say. It was about a year. Joey asked me to look for his passport because he needed multiple forms of identification to renew something government. It's now the time that I say the social security number.
Yeah. Go ahead and say his entire social security.
One.
For sure. It's all one.
But I had to go through all of his drawers to try to find this very important document. And
oh no,
there was a well-loved stuffed bunny, and there was a pacifier.
Okay, could have been worse. Oh, could have been slightly worse.
Mm-hmm. So with the pacifier, I was oh no. I know that with Molly, I had just seen a documentary, and Molly makes people grind their teeth. And so a lot of them use pacifiers.
I'm dating a rave head or whatever.
I was like, oh no, this could be
cooler than I am.
This pacifier could be a deal breaker.
I don't want to date no Molly loving rave head. Was that the idea? Like, this drug thing could be
it. Could. And so I did end up sitting down and saying, hey, I just want to check. Like, I want you to know that I found a pacifier while I was looking for your passport. Is there anything I should know about this? And then that's when Joey decided to tell me that he was a little guy.
Wow. Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. Joey, you get confronted in this moment. And Wayne shows up and is like, hey, I think you might be a rave head, which whatever. Like, I'm not judging. But you had a very different answer. And my guess is something you've been thinking about for a long time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of those moments where, like, you know, a lot of ABDLs think of, like, the roommate or the relationship being like, what is this? And then the pacifier's just shining in their hands. And you're like, oh, it's like the clip from SpongeBob. Wait, I can explain. It's because I love pacifiers.
By a single ray of light. Yeah.
And so, and I've always believed in honesty being the best policy. And I kind of just thought, like, you know, if you want an ABDL relationship, first step is telling them. And I do remember laughing quite a bit at the thought of me being that cool to go to raves when there are no raves in our vicinity. So
you're like, I'm in like the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. A rave would be awesome.
Yeah. So after he thought I was laughing at his face, I explained that, I am an ABDL, adult baby diaper lover. And it was pretty quick to click and figure out the understanding and the vibe after that. But it definitely was, you know, it's definitely a bunch of little steps to get to the ultimate daddy little boy relationship. And, you know, it takes a lot of work and you may never be there. It's nothing's going to be perfect. But you just got to try your dangdest.
This is the moment that I step in as sort of the token straight minority here and go like, I remember thinking that if you were queer, if you were gay, that everything goes. There was a time in my life when I thought that, well, it's fine because everything is fine. You're either het or everything goes. And it is such a great reminder to those in our listening audience that that's not at all how it works, and that's crazy. And by the way, we should probably stereotype, but this moment that you're experiencing is so similar to a moment that I experienced because it's not like everything goes. You're wondering, pins and needles, is this okay?
Absolutely. And we definitely have, Wayne and I have a more unique experience than maybe a lot of gay men living in a smaller, more conservative state. There's a lot of extra shame you get piled on top of you. And on top of any other sort of abnormal personality trait, then you might have being gay or being a person of color or being any sort of marginalization becomes like a little bit extra because you seem to be piling it on yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah. It's wild to think of it as sort of additive to everything else, right? So your ABDL, you may be a person of color, etc. You may be marginalized in one way or another, and the responsibility of your community or your people around you telling you this is something you're piling on yourself. That feels like a ton of not only marginalization, but weight on top of all of it. And I am super curious, like, you shared this really vulnerable thing. How did it go? And Wayne and Joey, like from both of you, how did it go?
My first thought was that, okay, I'll see where this goes. Again, being in a small community, any opportunity that you have to meet another gay man is kind of rare. So trying to hang on to anyone that you find is kind of your first instinct. But at the same time, I've always been a very vanilla person. Not that vanilla is.
Oh yeah, the first one of our first dates, I asked him to a coffee shop, and I'm at the counter ordering, and I get a large latte, extra shot or two, and I'm like, "What kind of coffee do you want?" And he goes, "I only drink tea." And I'm like, oh no, he's lame. But it turned out to be lame in the best way.
That's
well, and we should note, like, vanilla is not a bad word on this podcast. No. Vanilla is no different than chocolate or strawberry or rocky road.
I have a
right?
best friend whose favorite flavor is vanilla. He'll get really mad if you like talk down on vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Vanilla is a flavor.
It's
a good flavor. Exotic flavor.
It is.
Exotic flavor.
It can be. At one time, vanilla was very valuable. It was super exotic. So, Wayne, I mean, Joey tells you this thing. You found the pacifier. You've had this confrontation. And Joey comes out with it. Hey, I'm a little boy. I do this ABDL thing. How did it go from there? And what were you thinking and feeling?
Well, keeping in mind that we had already moved in together. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going through all of his drawers because
hard to back out.
They were in our bedroom.
They're our drawers now.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was out of diapers at the time. That's the only reason. Find my diapers.
I just wanted to see where this goes, and I wanted to keep a very open mind and see what there was to get out of it for me, because it was clear he was very giggly when he was admitting a lot of this stuff, and I really fell in love with that. And ultimately,
Oh,
it was the first time really feeling that sense of compersion, um, or just feeling joy from someone else's joy, um, and just
yeah.
that infectious feeling. I wanted to see how else I could experience that with him. Um, I think,
Wow, what a reaction.
uh,
What a reaction.
And like I said, it was definitely steps to it, because you get this miracle to happen. My partner wants to be my daddy. He's gonna help me be the best baby I can be, and so your head floods with all of your top fantasies, and then you get to the bed or the changing table, what have you, and he doesn't know how to do it, and you're like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, right,
Oh, right.
You haven't looked at the pictures, you haven't watched the videos,
Yeah.
you don't know anything about this, so it's it's weird, because it's gonna be a lot of big little time. You're gonna have to take charge and be like, no, the tapes need to go around where the waist is, and it's hard to not be like, oh my gosh, you don't know this. But that's just kind of how you have to take it, just step by step, explaining why everything's kind of the way it's going. Like, why do we need the baby lotion? Why do we need the baby powder? If you're not actually going to be staying in it all the heckin' time, it's like, well, it's just the feels.
Yeah.
It's the extra stuff.
This is one of those common misperceptions that happens in the ABDL world, where somebody says, yeah, I want to be a part of it. And all of a sudden you're like, great. So you automatically have downloaded and deeply understand every fantasy I've ever had. I have spent 10,000 hours thinking about exactly how I want this to go. And you said, okay. So I assume that means you also have a PhD. In how to treat me, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. And of course you have to spend, I think you called it big little time or little big time. Like the idea that, like, of course you're going to teach your partner about you. That's true in every relationship. And those of us who go into relationship thinking, oh, my partner's just going to know, you're nuts. It's not going to happen. I don't care if you date another ABDL. You both still have other fantasies that do not match. That's how that works. So I want to come back to this moment. I want to come back to the moment that you both said, yep, this is for me. But also, Tim, I want to come to you. You also had an experience where you were introducing your ABDL side to somebody who had never experienced this before. Is that right?
Yes, multiple times.
Tell us about your experience of sharing this with your husband.
Sure. So I am a ABDL for life. Came factory installed, as you say, and I got into my first adult diaper when I was out of college, and then I met my husband soon after, and actually kept this part of myself hidden for quite a while. I think 4 or 5 years into our relationship, I finally told him, because what I would do is hide the diapers in the closet, and then when he would go visit his friends or something, I could have me time. But it got to the point where I didn't want to hide it anymore, and so I finally, lots of binge and purge cycles, all of the traditional steps that all of us are familiar with. And then I asked him to sit down. I said, I have something to tell you. I'm into this ABDL thing at the time, and this will be repeating throughout my experience, but I was like, I'm just into the diaper part. I'm not into the adult baby part. I like to wear them for sexual gratification. I only wet them, like all these buts. And he said, I can't say that I understand it. I'm not really interested in it, but I'm not mad. I understand. We ended up coming to the understanding that he was into a couple of other things sexually that I was not really into, so we actually opened our relationship and were able to explore my ABDL and his other interests with other folks, but still have our relationship. And that's how it stayed with him, because I was not really able to see him in a daddy type role. We had been situated in a relationship for so long that the power dynamic was already established, and it was hard to go back.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. And I love that you adapted and said, I don't need this one person to be exactly the dynamic that I always imagined, and they don't need me to be exactly whatever they imagined.
Exactly. And we had rules and regulations for our open relationship that were, keeping us within constant communication, and we were in a strong enough place to give it a go, and it ended up being really good for us. And I think we actually ended up being emotionally more connected because we didn't have to depend on each other for sexual gratification. We still, did every once in a while, but we grew so close emotionally.
So you had a deeply emotional marriage and
Yes.
sometimes sexual marriage.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, because I had some health issues that were keeping me from fulfilling my end of the sexual bargain, and so it was nice to have that pressure off of me to to perform when I just couldn't, and also not say, well, I guess you're not having sex anymore either. So it really did help. I didn't feel that pressure, and it really kept me out of a depression spiral.
Yeah, amazing. And I've known some folks who don't necessarily have medical issues or health issues, but they're like, I'm asexual, or I just actually don't want to have sex with you or like this.
Yep.
And it's okay if you have sex with other people. And the fact that you communicated your way through that and fell deeply emotionally in love and didn't feel the need to like put boundaries around that, or maybe you did put boundaries, but the boundaries were your boundaries.
Correct.
That is, I think, really telling of the multiple ways we can have meaningful relationship.
Absolutely. And I was able to explore ABDL with other folks who were also interested, that I didn't have to explain or set something up. They were already into it. Many I did meet on Diaper Boys, which is a ABDL website for gay men, and then a few on Grindr, but mostly on Diaper Boys. And then I did eventually lose my partner to cancer.
I'm so sorry. I know that story, and I'm sorry. Yeah.
2020, it was very, very difficult. Thank you. And
of course.
I didn't really do anything for a while. I kind of just left ABDL behind and everything, and just tried to figure out how I was going to move forward. I did not have becoming a widower at 32 on my bingo card.
No.
So sorry for the minute down, but after about a year after he passed away, I started exploring what my needs again were and meeting up with some folks, and again some ABDL folks, and I went to a event in Cleveland called the Lake Erie Age Players. After I had met someone
LEAP.
Or
it
LEAP.
Spells LEAP. Yeah.
It spells LEAP, yes.
Oh, cute. Yeah.
And I had met someone at a padded game night that we had in Columbus, Ohio, and he invited me to this event. And while I was there, I did the whole shy boy thing, didn't really speak to anyone. And there was a daddy there that spoke to me for a little bit, and then these folks walked up, and I recognized the name on the name tag, and it was this guy I had been talking to on Diaper Boys that I had not ghosted, but just got busy and didn't respond to, and we actually ran into each other in person, and he introduced me to his ABDL family, and then they all kind of took me in as a little stray.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, they're amazing. I love all of them so much. And so, but I kept insisting, I'm just a DL. I'm not into ABDL, the AB part of the ABDL. It's just diapers for me. And
I like the way you keep teasing this, like it's not true. You're like, I just kept saying this.
I kept saying it. It is not true. Spoiler
I was going to
alert.
say there's going to be a reveal eventually that like maybe this isn't true.
Spoiler alert, it's not
that's
true.
in Act 3.
Yeah, wait for Act 3. That's right.
Right. And so one of them was like, well, like, try this onesie. Like, I think it'll fit you. And I was like, oh, yeah, it does fit. And I was like, this is awesome. And then they're like, hey, you have a lot of stuffed animals in your house. I'm like, yeah, so? Oh, you like to color a lot. And it's like Disney princess color? I was like, shut up.
I like how they're piecing this together. They're like, you sleep with a pacifier in a crib, and you're like, shut
Right.
up!
You're like, shut up.
It never occurred to me. Yeah,
I'm a diaper lover. But they were like, do you want to try a sippy cup? And I was like, no. So I did, and I discovered that I was actually. I at the time said middle. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can do this age play thing a little bit because I feel myself and I feel free. And then I moved 2 hours north, and I had to leave all of my little family behind in this community I had built and start all over again. So I moved to a smaller town in northwest Ohio and stayed in touch with my ABDL family, but they invited me to go to CapCon. And I jumped at the chance. They offered to drive me there, and they gave me a room in the room because they knew I didn't have a lot of money. Because, spoiler alert, I'm a librarian. We don't make a lot of money.
yeah, but God bless you for what you do.
Yes, I'm lucky to get to do what I do, but we do not get paid well. So they offered me a hotel room spot, and we're kind of back to the beginning where I was at CapCon feeling kind of lonely, turned on Grindr and met Joey, and when I met Joey and Wayne in person, they took to me instantly because they're just wonderful human beings. But seeing Joey and Wayne together, it was like that final piece of the puzzle. Like you're looking for that last jigsaw piece that the cat pushed under the table, and you find it, and you plug it in. And
that feels so good.
it was like that funny light you were saying, like like that light coming down.
that
Really-
single beam of light. Yeah.
Yes.
It was really fun to watch you kind of bloom and do more little stuff than maybe you were allowing yourself at first,
Yeah, because I am a caregiver by nature as far as my personality type, so actually allowing myself to be little. In fact, Joey and Wayne said, hey, do you want to take a nap with us? It had been a long day. And at CapCon, they have this sensory room where it's very quiet. They have one of those galaxy lights going, and there's no music. There's like a white noise machine. And we all lay down to take a nap, and I woke up with my thumb in my mouth.
We all laid down on a big, giant
Oh
teddy
my
bear.
God! Stop it.
Yes.
So cute. Stop it.
I just felt
Love
so
that.
safe with the two of them, and I did have a hard time staying in little space while we were there. In fact, we ended up gathering a small band of almost Peter Pan-esque lost boys who didn't really have anyone to hang out with, and we just kind of gathered a miniature army of we were rolling 8 deep at one point. But I kind of became the de facto leader for these boys and ended up changing a lot of diapers and making sure people were where they needed to be and taking care of them emotionally. And so even though I didn't get the full little experience I wanted, I actually had a life-changing revelation in that I wanted a daddy, and I needed it to be someone who's in my life all the time and not just every couple of months. I needed a partner who was a daddy.
Yeah.
And it's because of these amazing people.
Oh, thank you.
And it was because of the example you saw.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was something I gained from Cap, was kind of that ability to sort of just let go and be super duper little and get the little voice out and start talking like this and play with blocks. And one effect that I've seen to have on other littles is I can help them feel even littler. And I love it because I want them to be as little as they can be, because preferably I kind of want to be like the big brother, but not like the big brother, just like the little big brother that tells you to go
Slightly
steal.
bigger brother.
That tells you to go steal cookies. And
The instigator is a better
hey,
phrase.
right.
not the word I would have used.
Joey
Yeah,
is
that sounds right.
Joey is bouncy and fun and when he was talking earlier about ordering the coffee and getting 2 extra shots, I was like, why? Joey doesn't need it. He is the bounciest, most fun. He got me to get out of my comfort zone and get into the bounce house, the bounce jungle gym, and I would never have done that. And I just jumped and jumped and jumped. Now my 35-year-old body was like, why did you do that?
Yeah, I get that.
Oh my gosh, it's so easy to kind of hurt yourself a lot in little space and not even realize it.
Yes, I ached for like a month.
I love, Joey and Wayne, that your example brought something out in little Tim that said, this is okay, you are welcome here. And it sounds like your dynamic. It wasn't just one of you, it was your dynamic. How did you get to a place where it's okay to have big person, little person, to have this dynamic? How did you get to that place from the sort of random introduction of, oh, I found your pacifier?
It's probably a better question for you, because I just kind of rolled.
I remember one of the first things I asked you once you told me everything was, well, would you want to call me, like, I don't know, Daddy? And you just were like, yeah. And it was just such a moment for me. And
oh yeah, it's like, hell yeah, I would. Yeah,
it felt right, right away, and I just from there, I had such a love for Joey, who had always just been Joe before that to me. He was always like, you can't call me Joey, because it makes me feel weird and things like that. And I think a lot of it was just trying to hide Joey, and kind of keeping that in the closet, so to speak. And as a gay man, having to come out of the closet more than once for different things is probably a very common experience when it comes down to a lot of the other things that make us us.
What a beautiful insight, Wayne, that you've just offered me. That you, it sounds like, have experienced having to come out more than once. That there was something about you were hiding, something that was inside that you felt like you had to bring out. And if I'm hearing you right, you saw that in Joey and called it out.
I really did, because I knew the pain that comes with hiding a big part of yourself, or just not feeling comfortable hiding part of who you are. And I didn't want that for him anymore. I wanted him to be his little self around me whenever he felt like it. And I mean, now it's gotten to the point where I have to kind of be like, oh, hey, Joe, around his friends, just because we like to keep it mostly to ourselves. But
they all know, but they're not kinky people, so we just kind of like, it's not worth bringing up. But the reason they all know is because, much like Wayne, they all went through my stuff, but I had happened to have diapers that time, so all my friends found my diapers way before I ever thought about telling them that.
Joey, you are very bad at hiding your thing. This is what I've learned.
I put them in a drawer. I put them in my drawers.
Yeah.
People need to not go through. No, you need to not go through people's drawers.
First time, their fault. Second time, your fault. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I do want to call out too that you know, Tim, in your story, you had a part of yourself that was unexpressed. Joey, in your story, you had a part of yourself that was unexpressed, that was little. But I do want to call out that, like, that's not the end goal of ABDL. And there may be folks who are like, I'm not little, or I'm middle, or I actually have no age play in me at all. I just really, really like diapers. Great. The goal of this episode is not to convince you that you should be little. The goal is to convince you that you should be yourself, and that whatever is in there, I hope, can come out in a safe way that gets nurtured. But my goal is, and I think our guest goal is not to tell you be little. The goal is embrace who you are. Is that fair, guests?
For
Is that
sure.
a fair thing to say?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Okay.
I would say that when I was saying, kind of comically that like, oh, but that wasn't true. At the time, I really did just want to wear I really did not want to be little. These pieces clicked into place when the time was right. It's not like it was a part of me that was hidden even from myself, I think. Like I didn't realize I was doing little coded things, but I truly was just a diaper lover. I did not even fathom age play. So it truly is fine to just be who you are, and maybe it will
Yeah.
evolve into something else, and maybe it is exactly what it is, and that's fine too. Mine just happened to evolve.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. And I myself, like I've been a DL forever. I have a small little space that I only share with one person that I really enjoy. That is not most of my kink. Most of my kink is this diaper lover thing. I have no shame about the little side. I absolutely fucking love it. I also absolutely fucking love my DL side, and all of it is good. There is no like end goal to be more little or more DL or less little. That's not how it works. I do want to I want to fast forward a little bit. I would love to know, Wayne, from you. Y'all have been together a while. You're married now. We've talked about, hey, these are the things that Joey brought to you. I want to focus on you for a second. How do you get your needs and wants met when you are also showing up in a way for Joey that brings out his little side and sort of meets who he is? How do you do that?
So another major component of our relationship is that I have since come out to him as asexual. I derive very little pleasure from any sort of physical acts. A vast majority of the time, there are certain times where that's different. So it is kind of more on the gray side, but um, by being able to kind of express sensuality and just have deeper emotional connections through age play with him, and again, that compersion that I get from that. The happier I make him, the better he feels, and that makes me feel amazing.
Mm. Yeah.
So
And that word compersion, I'll for those who don't know it, is sort of borrowed from polyamorous terms. It's an idea that means I find joy in your joy. I find love in your love. Is that fair, Wayne?
oh, for sure. And Joey definitely has needs as well. He definitely is more sexual than I am. I'd say by a lot. I'm not sure if you want to chime in.
Oh, absolutely, by a lot.
hmm So we also have an open relationship, so that we can both get what we need out of our fantastic friendship, which again is the foundation of our relationship. And just by having that open communication and those ground rules, we were able to make it work just as well. So
The big one is honesty, and
mhm.
it's incredibly difficult. It is probably the most difficult thing in the world to be honest. Honest to yourself, honest to the people you love, and that's just how we've gotten through. A lot of the stuff we've gotten through is through the honesty and kind of the trust that we know the other one will be completely truthful, even if it's not, necessarily, quote unquote, faithful, that anything and everything can be talked about.
Mhm.
I'm so glad you said that, because when we talk about relationships that involve things like being open or being poly or whatever, those things require an honesty that is totally countercultural, and also that just feels fucking weird, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's so weird to tell your partner, and I know this from my own experience with my partner, but to say, I'm really into that person, or I actually am not turned on by you right now. That is so weird, and it feels like rejection, and it feels shitty, and you never do it in a shitty way. And of course you're aware of where your partner is in the moment, but to say, like, right now I'm not into it, later I'll be into it, or right now I actually am thinking about this, I want to make muffins, and it's not about you right now. Those things are hard, and it's even harder when you introduce another person in the mix. But I don't know that there's another way to do it if you're going to do multiple partners.
Mm-hmm. You just have to be as honest as you can be, and yeah, like I said, it's incredibly hard and nuanced, and
it's very important. And one thing that I often hear is like, oh, well, how do you deal with jealousy? And again, it just all comes down to open communication. We can talk through anything and know that we still love each other at the end of the day.
That's so big. And Wayne, kudos to you for coming to your husband and saying, I actually am not that sexual. Like, the things that we're going to do together don't necessarily do it for me. And telling that truth, because that can be a hard thing to share, right? Being asexual can be a difficult thing to share. We have tons of asexual people who listen to the podcast, so shout out my aces. But it can be really hard to tell folks, I'm actually not as into it as you are. But kudos to both of you for communicating and saying, here's what I want, here's what I need. It's not a reflection of you. Let's figure out how to make it work.
Absolutely.
All right, so I do want to come back to, I sort of led off part of the podcast with like this embarrassing revelation that in my 20s, I had this dumb idea that, that in gay male culture, anything goes, right? So that's one of those dumb stereotypes that sometimes straight people carry, and I know is incorrect. I talked with Tim about this beforehand, so I'm not just springing this on him, but I think that there are potentially some either old wives' tales, myths, or some things that like we kind of wish that straight people knew about gay culture and ABDL. I would love to address any of those. And Tim, you and I talked about one in particular. I wonder if you'd be willing to bring that forward.
Sure. Yeah, I was, we kind of talked about how you were talking about your assumption about when a gay community, everything goes, when in fact it's very much not. There is kind of different factions within the gay community. And again, just the disclaimer, I speak for myself and not the gay community as a whole, because I feel like
you bet.
We always got to say that, right? Because I don't want to be like, he represents gay people.
Well, fortunately, we've had lots of gay and queer people on the show, but
yes.
I'm glad we're sort of addressing this particular question with you.
Absolutely. So there's actually oftentimes where I'd be talking to someone on Grindr or one of the other apps and they'd say, well, what are you into? And I would have to try to gauge, am I going to say ABDL or not? Just like anyone else would. Because sometimes you say, I'm into ABDL. And they're like, well, what's that? And so I tell them, and it's an immediate disappear ghost block.
Ooh.
Immediate, just gone. And so
that's
you're
rough.
like, oh, is there something wrong with this? And so there are also these divisions of kind of for lack of a better term, the pretty ones, the pretty privilege, and then those of us who are not as fortunate in the looks department. And so it does sometimes feel like there's the popular crowd and then the not so popular crowd that are more out on our own. And that's kind of something I experienced. Not to be against anyone, because at Capcom, your people are coming back and meeting their friends again, haven't seen them in a year, so they're real excited. But many attempts to talk to people who were either identifying as gay in one way or another in their maybe their badge or maybe wearing a flag on their clothes or what have you, went unanswered, and I felt super alone. But I also recognized that that's not my crowd. But I was just desperate to glom on to anyone that wanted to talk. Because I'm actually pretty introverted. I get more extroverted the more I get to know you. So I had kind of that going against me too. So, and there's this, the norms of the world still fit in with the gay world. So ABDL is often frowned upon, and a lot of gay men have said in the past to me that, you're a pedophile, or some of those kinds of things that I'm sure all of us have heard before
For sure.
from someone we tell that we're into diapers or age play. And it's just obviously not true. But it still hurts to hear it, and then it's usually an immediate block. So there is that block within the gay community as well.
That's so good to know. And again, like, this is, when you and I were talking about it, I was like, it's so helpful to tell my 20-year-old self, hey, you were wrong. And also, it's helpful to identify and empathize that you are having the same experiences that I've had, where you tell somebody about this thing and you're all nervous and you're like, you're going to reject me. And then indeed they do. And in some cases, they associate you with the worst possible thing you can think of. And that is not unique to straight culture. That's an ABDL thing.
Absolutely.
And we all kind of deal with it. You also talk about, sort of categorizing people by their body type or by how they look or whatever, and that you experience that too, as do I. But is it possible we experience it maybe differently? I don't know. Are there things that may be unique to the gay male community that I don't experience?
Yes, I did have a very fun time introducing you to all the different subtypes and subcategories, mostly named after animals, while we're sitting around the campfire drinking.
Is this correct? I'm sort of a bear. I'm fat and hairy.
Well, you're not fat, but RY is definitely bearish. I think I told you were a muscle bear.
I'll take muscle bear. I'll take that. Also, I ain't ashamed of a little fat, but I am a muscle bear. I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I did have a good time explaining bear versus cub versus otter versus twink versus all the different things there's so many subcategories that I don't even know all of them. But they generally are, the male kind of Adonis is the idealized, which is the muscular man with the masculinity is also a big thing. And I think a lot of that stems from, pornography and from, popular culture in general. And I'm sure we could have a whole talk just about that. But
I'm certain of it.
But, a lot of it deals with, there's muscles versus not muscles, and then it's the level of hair on your body versus not, and some people think that's gross, and some people like that, and so there are these kind of subgroup categories within the community that way as well.
And those things maybe are a little bit more explicit in the gay community than they are in the hetero community.
Right.
In that, and maybe they are. I honestly don't know. I'm only one tiny part of hetero people, but I don't have categories of bear. I don't have that.
No.
So I can see where that would sort of typecast a person based on their body shape or whatever.
Correct.
And where that could potentially sort of narrow your options, your experience, and maybe even stereotype you a little bit.
There is a lot of labeling in the gay community, and it can be frustrating, especially for people who maybe don't really subscribe to those labels or feelings. There's a lot of, attempts to make the gay culture. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say. Sorry.
No, you're right. Trying to make something fit into a category. And then there's some of us who are the opposite. So I am a bigger gentleman. I'm not super tall, but I have recently lost about 30 pounds, but I have more body hair than the average Joe. And so my body type would lend me towards bear, which usually is associated with daddies. Usually. But I am not.
Yeah.
And I have been
Yeah.
daddy for some folks, and it is not for me, and I've let them know I can no longer be that for them. But it was already half-hearted to begin with.
Yeah, it almost like there's this feeling of I don't know, if you don't fall into one of the labels, or you maybe fall into multiple labels, that's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost that's a mentality I see, is like, oh, they're a bear, but they don't really have like the stomach of a bear. That's just that's unlabelable.
Right.
Oh, I see. So even in this sort of marginalized space where you're like, I'm already in the gay community, I'm not part of whatever the heteronormative ideal is, then they're saying, yeah, but you're also not that either. Like in this
Yes.
space, you don't fit this one thing.
There's
Yep.
definitely some extra marginalizing, and I don't necessarily think that's a conscious thing from most people, because I feel like most people would want to be decent, but it's just definitely it's a strange thing that I can't quite wrap my head around, because we want to not be marginalized, not be labeled, and not be discriminated against, but then within that whole general non-discrimination field, there's almost a unwritten rule of like, yeah, but we're still gonna.
Right. And I feel like we as a subgroup, we are a little bit more sex forward as gay men. We are either associated with sex, or we sometimes lead with sex. Again, an overgeneralization, but that is kind of the image that we give in pop culture as well. Is that like, oh, gay men, sex go hand in hand, and obviously,
Yes.
just hearing from Daddy Wayne, that is not true for everyone.
Right, right. Wayne, that must have been, if you've experienced that must have been a challenge.
Oh, for sure. It is something that, as somebody who still goes on Grindr and talks to different people just to try to see what else is out there, and learn new experiences. As soon as I say I'm not looking for anything tonight, usually that's when they just stop talking to me, which is fine.
Yeah.
But being a gay man, first and foremost, who is also asexual, and again, more on the gray side of that, it does present a lot of challenges just because I identify as a side, rather than like a top or a bottom or verse.
I love that. Yeah, side. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of people still aren't the most familiar with. And as a result, it leads to a lot of confusion and kind of just disgust at, oh, you're not just a top or a bottom. So it just kind of, again, it's that marginalization within a marginalized community that can be very confusing, because we all share marginalization. We know that it hurts. Why do we perpetuate it?
Yeah. I mean, well, so two things I'll share. One is that I think people who are ABDL and in any other marginalized community may be able to identify and say, look, I already felt marginalized, and then I have this other thing that's marginalized. And to be clear, and I want to make this 3,000% clear, I am not saying being ABDL is like being gay. That is not the same thing. And when you walk around during the day and people see the people you love, they're not like, oh, you're ABDL. It's not the same thing. But it does get marginalized within the sexual community and within the kink community even. And it's possible that people can empathize and be like, yeah, I know what it's like to be marginalized and then be further marginalized. And Wayne, what you're describing is being in a marginalized community that also doesn't accept that you are gray and that you are a side. And I was at a kink conference a couple weeks ago, and it was the first time that anybody ever introduced themselves to me as a side. I was like, in my head, I have this like binary after all these years, right? I have this binary top or bottom, and they're like side. And I'm like, well, that's new.
Yeah.
So just, I guess, just know that like your community, the kink community, is not the first one to take marginalized people and marginalize them further. The trick is for us to try and free ourselves of those marginalizations.
Exactly. A lot of the challenges of being in the more asexual side of ABDL within the gay community, again, it just comes down to all of those different layers, and that's what makes forming a new relationship, especially daddy little boy relationship, like ours, so challenging. Is a lot of people are afraid to open up and truly be themselves and take the risks of being themselves in case, oh well, that's one thing that I can't agree with. And Joey and I really recognize how incredibly lucky we are to have found each other. And at the same time, it seems like something that is as easy as keeping an open mind and keeping communications open.
And I think it's wild that, if I'm hearing right, that you both had an experience coming into meeting each other that was, hey, I have a part of me that other people in our community have not accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you do. And let's talk about that. Is that right for you both?
Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of nice to sort of both have that thing, because even if it's not the same, we can foster understanding for it, you know? I talked to him about how to change a diaper. He talks to me about how it's better to plan for sexual engagement for him rather than be spontaneous. And it's tough on both fronts, because there's times where, you know, ABDL stuff might seem a little cringy, and then like as far as you talking to me about your asexuality, it's sort of maybe a similar mentality of you know, frustration and almost rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is, if I'm hearing you right, is talk about holding on to that love even when things feel different than you. Like, if there was a time when it was cringy for Wayne to say little boy things, and there might have been a time when it was for you, it was weird to hear, I want to plan sex. Like, that might go against some of your most basic, you know, understanding and even drives of how sex works. And that might go against some of Wayne's most basic sex drives. And yet, y'all talked about it. Y'all made it work.
Absolutely.
I think that as long as you keep the love at the forefront of any discussion and know that it's an unconditional love, you are able to talk through anything and be able to feel open to being as honest as possible, and know that you're just sharing your own thoughts and feelings with a person that you love unconditionally. And nothing can change that love. So why hide something? Why try to stifle your own feelings just to make the other person feel more comfortable. Maybe let's talk about that. Why don't you want to talk about XYZ? Oh, well, it's because I was worried it would make you uncomfortable. Oh, well, I think that it's okay to feel uncomfortable sometimes as long as it lets us be more open with each other.
I think that is exactly right. If what you're facing is love and your options are don't share or share and run the risk of this being a difficult conversation, it sounds like you both have chosen difficult conversation and you've both chosen to love above that difficult conversation.
Time and again, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's so cool. I just love that.
And I think, honestly, we're lucky that the honesty and the communication has led to us sticking together. Because I don't necessarily think that's the best path for everybody. Because if we're talking about being honest, sometimes you need to be honest and say, this is not the relationship where I'm going to get an ABDL relationship out of it.
Yeah, good point.
And
good point.
I've never, I haven't dated too much, but I'm sure it's incredibly impossible to decide whether you want to keep a relationship because it's so good, but it's never going to be kinky, or let it go and try to find someone who meets those standards. And it's just kind of through, I guess, dumb luck that through all of our honesty and conversation, the solution has still been to stick together.
It might be dumb luck. It might be that y'all were in some ways sort of fitted to each other. But yeah, I mean, and you've done the hard work, and not every relationship should stay together. And for those that have followed our podcast for the last several years would know that like there are times when a relationship, when both people go, okay, this was awesome and it's not meeting our needs, so let's move on. By no means is the right answer always stick it out. I think that's terrible advice. But you showed up for each other in love, and over again you said, how can I help meet your needs? And I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Of course. Tim, I have to ask, is there can you tell us, you said you set out back into the world after this heartbreaking loss. Is there fun to be had on the other side of it?
There is indeed. As I said, when I was at Capcom, I saw these two, and actually another couple as well, that were daddy dom little boy kind of relationships, and realized that's what I want. And actually, these two don't know this, but on the second to last day there, we were all playing in the jungle gym, and I got worn out. And so I went to go put on my shoes, and I looked up, and Wayne was just smiling, watching Joey play, and just having the best time, as we were talking about earlier, with his joy of finding joy in other people's joy. Yeah. But it was beautiful, and so it triggered that part of my brain that wanted a daddy. And so I came home, and I had been seeing a guy, and I told him, this is what I need. I really do need a daddy in my life that's full-time, or that the relationship is based on daddy dom little boy dynamics. And he told me he couldn't give that to me, and I understood. It was a nice conversation. There was nothing wrong with it. And then, as if out of thin air, this man that I had messaged on Diaper Boys when I first moved to my new area messaged me back after 8 months.
Whoa.
Saying, hey, his name is Zach, and he said, hey, sorry I didn't see your message. I was going through something and had to log off for a while, but I'm back, and I hope you're still here. And we started messaging, and he wanted to take me on a date and wanted to get to know Big Me before he got to know Little Me, which is obviously fair. But
always a good plan. Always a good plan.
He did pick out my diaper, and I wore it to the zoo carefully with not, any kind of non-consent play, of course. and I just kept slipping into little space around him without meaning to. And then he took me to a bookstore afterward because I'm obviously a nerd, a big reader, and I was swaying back and forth and realized I was crinkling. And so I ran over to tell him, and I was like, so are you bored? Are you ready to go? He's like, no, just take your time, enjoy. And so I got to enjoy and get to be myself, and we've been seeing each other ever since. And last week, he asked me to be his boyfriend, and I said yes.
Oh, what?
Congratulations.
I literally didn't know that until this minute. That is so fun.
I know. I haven't told anyone
that is
yet.
So fun.
I'm getting ready to introduce the idea that I'm dating to my family, which is going to be slow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, so here's what's amazing about that story. And of course, I wish you both the best, and I hope it develops into the thing that you want. But it didn't start with you. Your story just now didn't start with you spotting the perfect guy. Your story started with you accepting what you wanted.
Yes.
Really deeply accepting what you wanted. And then taking a swing at it with somebody. And that person going, nope. And you going, okay, because I have accepted what I wanted. You have said that's not what you want. And then moving on. And opening up a space where you would tell future partners what you want.
Yes. Radical self-acceptance.
My God.
And
is there any better lesson? I don't,
No.
I mean, for this podcast, is there any better lesson than radical self-acceptance? I don't know that there is.
And Zach is such a good daddy, and he gets angry with me, not fully angry, but when I won't let him take care of me because I'm so used to taking care of others. And he is like, just relax and let daddy take care of you. And I was like, okay. Sorry.
I am melting a little bit.
He's marvelous. I can't wait for everyone to meet him. I am falling very quickly. He is a hard worker. He is a brilliant human being, and we share a lot in common. We have some not so good things in our past that are similar to each other, so we're able to lean into each other for those kinds of things. And the thing is, he likes hearing about my life before with my partner before he passed away, and he's like, don't ever apologize for talking about your partner, and don't ever think that you can't. And I do want to hear that because that's part of your life. And I mean, my partner, my husband, was a big Doctor Who fan, and Zach is also a big Doctor Who fan, and we are going to watch the new episode this week when it drops. And he's the first person I've watched the show with new since David passed. And so this is going to be a new experience. And I'm excited.
I hope it's amazing. I just wish I wish you both the very best and all the things that you're hoping for.
Thank you so much. And I have told him about this podcast, and he is going to go back and listen to some of the many episodes that are in the back. So
yeah, we've got 108 or so now, but tell him to start with this one because you're on it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. This podcast saved my life, so it's going to give him some information too.
I will never stop tiring of hearing that the podcast has had an impact on you.
It did.
Friends, this is exactly what I was hoping for. There is so much more we could talk. Like it's really hard, by the way, to write a headline for this one, because how in the world do you say, I want to talk about ABDL, DDLB, and gay male culture and put it in an hour and a half, right? It's never going to happen. But I am so grateful that we got to have this conversation to tackle what we did get to tackle. Joey and Wayne, thank you both for sharing your relationship with us and your story.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
I wanted to say, Tim, one unexpected struggle you might have with a DDLB relationship is losing your ability to change your own diaper.
I'm willing to let that go.
Real watch out, that one. That's great. Thank you both. And Tim, thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing your husband's story, for sharing Zach's story. I'm assuming it's okay if we call him Zach on the podcast?
Yes, I asked beforehand.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I look forward to many more to come. Real quick, Tim, how could people get a hold of you if they want to?
So I'm on Instagram as LittleTim5555.
So many fives. 4 5
Yes.
after Little Tim.
Well,
it.
my
On
55
Instagram.
is my lucky number, and I went to go make it, and someone else had already taken it.
So don't write to Little Tim 55. Write to Little Tim 55 55.
Right.
The other one would be very confused about what this is about.
Absolutely.
Joey, how can folks get a hold of you if they want to?
I am Bunny Boy Joey on Instagram.
That's adorable. Wayne, how can folks get a hold of you, or should they not? I don't know. It's up to you.
If anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm Pup Root Beer on Instagram.
I could use some root beer right now. That sounds really good. Yeah, it does. Thank you all for being on this podcast. And friends, we have so much more coming. We already have like 5 podcasts that we are right now producing between me and Teddy and Lola and some of the others that are working on putting together guests. But this one was one that I was so stoked to cover and to talk about. As always, if you want to get a hold of me and share questions that you'd like to share, you can send them to me. I'm Resident Yes on Instagram and FetLife and Tumblr, or you can write to me at loveandbrief@gmail.com. But this has been a really rich conversation, and this has been another episode of Love in Brief.